This is the story of Sawyer Harris and Iyana Sawyer, two teenage girls who had their futures stolen from them. Both of them were bright, both of them were full of life, and they both had dreams ahead of them. But they shared one tragic similarity. They were victims of abuse by men that they trusted. Two young girls, both pregnant, both silenced before they could expose the truth. And in both cases, the men responsible thought that they could erase the evidence. It was January 2024 in Detroit, Michigan. 13-year-old Sawyer Harris was a typical teenager, full of energy and loved by those around her. But on this particular day, something felt off. She had just left school, but she never made it home. At first, her grandmother, Annette Harris, assumed that, there must be some logical explanation. Maybe she stayed late at a friend's house. Maybe she got caught up with something. I don't know. This wasn't like her, so there must be some explanation, right? But hours passed, then a day, and then another day. And Sawyer wasn't the type to run away. Something was terribly wrong. Now let's rewind to December 2018 in Jacksonville, Florida. 16-year-old Iyana Sawyer was finishing up her semester at high school. She was a quiet, focused student who had big dreams for her future. She was also 5 months pregnant, and she had a secret. One day she told her family she was heading to school, but she never made it home. Her backpack was later found in a dumpster, but Iyana, nowhere to be found. For days, her family searched. No one had seen her, and no calls were made from her phone. Then suspicion fell on someone close, someone that she should have been able to trust. As police investigated Sawyer's disappearance, they started looking at her phone records, her messages, on her social media, her calls. There were text messages, hundreds of them, between Sawyer and a 42-year-old man named Jarvis Botts. He wasn't just some stranger. He was connected to her family through a long-term relationship with Sawyer's aunt. He was Sawyer's aunt's partner, so her uncle. The messages weren't just casual conversations. They were disturbing, they were explicit, and they pointed to something horrifying. The meaning behind the messages could not be mistaken. These were clear messages, if you understand what I mean. Sawyer was pregnant, and the father, Jarvis Botts. The timeline was clear. Botts had been abusing her for years, and remember that she's just 13 now. And he had been abusing her for years, grooming her and keeping their relationship a secret. And when she became pregnant, the risk of being exposed became too great. Police found chilling online searches on Botts' devices. Here are some things that he typed on Google. How to abort a pregnancy at home. How to get away with murder. How to do an abortion at home. For Iyana's family, the pain of her disappearance was unbearable. But when police started looking closer, they realized the person responsible was right under their noses. Iyana wasn't just pregnant. She was pregnant by her uncle. Jonathan Quills, a 38-year-old married man, wasn't just a predator. He was a monster hiding in plain sight. And just like Botts, he had been sexually abusing Iyana, manipulating and threatening her into silence. And when she became pregnant, he knew he couldn't let the truth come out. The final piece of the puzzle was security footage showing on the day that she disappeared. Iyana had gone to Jonathan's job and she never left. He later admitted to killing her and disposing of her body in a dumpster. But just like in Sawyer's case, her body was never found. Both girls had trusted the wrong people. Both had no way out, and both were silenced forever. But their killers underestimated one thing. The investigators were not just going to let them get away with it. Neither Sawyer nor Iyana were ever found. Like, their bodies, up till today that I'm speaking to you, have never been found. But that didn't mean that their killers were free. Even without bodies, investigators refused to give up. And soon the evidence against their murderers became overwhelming. At first, Jarvis Botts denied everything. He claimed he had nothing to do with Sawyer's disappearance, that he was being set up. But the evidence told a different story. The police retraced his steps on the day Sawyer vanished. Surveillance footage placed him near an abandoned home, the same place where Sawyer's belongings were later discovered. His search history more damning by the second. How to get rid of a body. How long does DNA last on skin? Definition of a pedophile. These were all in his search history. Bud thought he was being smart, covering his tracks, but his phone records placed him exactly where he didn't want to be, near the crime scene. Investigators found DNA tying him to Sawyer, and despite his protest, he was arrested and charged with first-degree murder, criminal sexual conduct with a minor, tampering with evidence as well. Even though Sawyer's body was never found, prosecutors built a rock-solid case, and they were not the only ones. Jonathan Quills was cocky at first. He played dumb, acting like he had no idea what happened to Iyana, but then his own brother came forward. In a shocking turn, Jonathan's brother told police that Jonathan had confessed. He admitted to killing Iyana, and his confession was even worse than anyone had imagined. He had taken Iyana to his workplace. He killed her there. Then, as if she was nothing more than trash, he stuffed her body into a dumpster. Investigators searched multiple landfills, desperate to recover her remains, but they never found her. Still, the evidence was enough. Despite having no body, Jonathan was charged with first-degree murder of Iyana, murder of her unborn child, sexual battery of a minor. A jury did not hesitate. He was found guilty on all counts, and he was sentenced to death. Sawyer and Iyana Sawyer never had the chance to tell their stories, but their voices still echoed in the evidence, in the courtrooms, and in the fight for justice. Their cases prove something important, to me anyway. Even when a body is not found, killers can still be convicted. This is how their cases intertwine. 2 young girls, 2 pregnancies, 2 predators, 2 families who will never be the same again. But most importantly, 2 killers who did not get away with murder. Their cases expose an uncomfortable truth, and that truth is that monsters are not always outside of the home. Sometimes they sit across from you on the table during family dinners. They disguise as trusted uncles, father figures, family friends. Let me know what you think in the comments. Thank you for watching.